Hello lovelies, in this video we're going to be going through the whole of crime and deviance section for your AQA GCSE Sociology. Now after you've watched this video, carefully made notes from all the topics, if you want to help remember everything, get all those facts into your long-term memory so that you can better answer questions in the exam, then over my website we've got loads of multiple choice questions for you, and then we have the live tutorials and we have the predictive papers that we've written for this year's exams.
AQA GCSE Sociology. Topic 5, Crime and Deviance. Lesson 1, the social construction of crime and deviance. The terms crime and deviance can be defined as follows. Crime is any form of action that results in breaking a written, formal rule in society. It is an act that breaks a law, e.g. murder. Deviance. This is behaviour that does not conform to the dominant norms of a specific society, e.g. talking with your mouth full. Actions can be criminal but not deviant, deviant but not criminal, or they can be both. The social construction of crime and deviance refers to the idea that the definitions and understandings of what constitutes criminal behaviour and deviant behaviour are not fixed or objective, but rather are constructed and shaped by societal norms, values, and power dynamics. This means that what is considered criminal or deviant behaviour can vary across different cultures, time periods, and social groups. For example, certain behaviours or actions that may be considered deviant or criminal in one society may not be considered as such in another. Similarly, the way in which crime and deviance are defined and dealt with by the legal system can also vary based on factors such as race, class, and gender. There are lots of ways crime can be seen as socially constructed. For example, number 1, time. What is seen as criminal is not fixed and changes over time. For example, homosexuality used to be a criminal offence, but is not now. Number 2, place. What is considered deviant in one place might not be in another. For example, killing someone is a criminal offence, unless you are at war. Number 3, culture. What is considered criminal or deviant can change between cultures. For example, eating with your left hand in some countries is considered to be rude. Number 4, the social situation. Behaviours that are acceptable in some situations are not in others. For example, drinking alcohol at 8 a.m. is frowned upon, unless you are in the airport on the way to a holiday. Lesson 2, Sociological Explanations of Crime and Deviance. Various. Number 1, anomie. Anomie is a concept developed by French sociologist Émile Durkheim. It refers to a condition in which society lacks clear norms and values, leading to a breakdown in social order and an increase in crime. This theory suggests that crime is a result of the inability of individuals to achieve their goals through legitimate means, and they turn to deviance to achieve them. Number 2, labelling. Labelling theory, developed by Howard Becker, suggests that deviance is not inherent in the act itself, but rather it is created by the way society reacts to it. When an individual is labelled as deviant, they may begin to adopt the identity of a deviant and engage in more deviant behaviour. This theory highlights the role of societal reactions in shaping deviance. Number 3, structural theories. Structural theories of crime and deviance focus on the role of social and economic inequality in shaping deviance. These theories argue that poverty and inequality create a crime-prone social structure, which increases the likelihood of deviant behaviour. Theories like Marxism, which claims that crime and deviance are a result of capitalist society's class conflicts, falls under this category. Number 4, subcultural theories. Subcultural theories suggest that deviance is a result of individuals identifying with and participating in deviant subcultures. These subcultures may have their own norms and values that differ from mainstream society and may be involved in criminal activity. Interactionist theory. Interactionist theory focuses on how individuals interpret and respond to social situations. This theory emphasizes the role of social interactions in shaping deviance. It suggests that deviance is a result of the way individuals interpret and respond to societal norms and expectations. This theory highlights the importance of understanding the subjective experiences and perspectives of deviant individuals. Lesson 3. Sociological explanations of crime and deviance. Functionalists. Different sociological perspectives view crime in different ways. Most view crime and deviance as destructive, but functionalists believe that crime has a positive purpose in society. The functionalist perspective argues that criminal and deviant behaviour is a necessary part of society, as it serves to define and reinforce social norms and values. According to functionalists, criminal and deviant behaviour serves to maintain social order and stability by providing a clear boundary between right and wrong. They argue that society needs some deviance to function properly, and that deviance is an inevitable and necessary part of the social order. For example, if someone breaks the law and is sent to prison, it reinforces to everyone else that their actions were unacceptable. However, they do recognise that crime and deviance can be dysfunctional and disrupt the social order. Consequently, they argue that society needs a system of punishment to maintain social order and stability. A key functionalist theorist for crime was Merton, whose theory of anomie is one of the most influential explanations of crime in sociology. Merton argues that crime is caused by a disconnection between the goals people have in society and the means they have to achieve those goals. In other words, people who feel they cannot achieve their goals through legitimate means may resort to criminal behaviour. Merton identified 5 ways in which people may respond to this disconnection: conformity, innovation, ritualism, retreatism, and rebellion. Each of these responses is different in terms of the relationship between goals and means, with rebellion being the most deviant, as it involves a rejection of both societal goals and means. Merton's theory is functionalist in that it emphasizes the role of social structure in shaping individual behavior. Lesson 4. Sociological explanations of crime and deviance. Marxists. Marxists believe that social inequality, and specifically capitalism, is the driving force behind crime. Marxists argue that crime and deviance are a product of capitalist societies, and that the criminal justice system served to maintain the power and wealth of the ruling class. According to Marxists, criminal and deviant behaviour is often a result of the way that the ruling class uses their power to exploit and control the working class. They argue that criminal and deviant behaviour is often a result of the way that the working class is oppressed and marginalised in society. They argue that the laws and the legal system are not neutral, but rather are shaped by the interests of those who hold power in society, and are used to maintain their dominance over marginalised groups. They also believe capitalism promotes criminogenic values such as greed, as it emphasises material wealth. Those living in poverty are not able to compete, so resort to crime. For example, they may steal a mobile phone they cannot afford. Lesson 5. Sociological Explanations of Crime and Deviance. Feminists. Feminists argue that crime and deviance are not only shaped by societal reactions, but also by the power dynamics within society, particularly those related to gender. According to feminists, criminal and deviant behaviour is often a result of the way that men use their power to exploit and control women. They argue that criminal and deviant behaviour is often a result of the way that women are oppressed and marginalised in society. They also argue that the criminal justice system and the definitions of crime and deviance often disproportionately affect women, and that these concepts are used to maintain patriarchal power structures. Women are often viewed as deviant when they engage in criminal behaviour, while men are often seen as mischievous or rebellious. This double standard can lead to harsher punishments for women and more lenient punishments for men. Hidesy is a key feminist theorist who focuses on crime. One of her key ideas is that women are less likely to engage in criminal behaviour because of their socialisation and the expectations placed on them by society. She argues that women are socialised to conform to traditional gender roles, which emphasise femininity and domesticity, and that these roles discourage women from engaging in deviant behaviour. Hidesy also argues that the criminal justice system is biased against women, and that they are often treated more harshly than men for the same offences. Hidesy also says that women are often subject to additional forms of social control that are not imposed on men. She states that women are controlled in 3 places. At home. Having to be the housewife means time is taken up with domestic chores, so there's less opportunity to commit crime. In public. Women are controlled by the threat of male violence, e.g. the risk of sexual assault keeps them from going out at night alone. And at work. Men are more likely to be in positions of power, e.g. CEOs, so women have less freedom in the workplace. Hidensen's ideas have important implications for understanding the relationship between gender and crime. Her work highlights the ways in which gender roles and expectations can shape criminal behaviour, and the ways in which the criminal justice system can be biased against women. It also emphasises the importance of considering the role of social control in shaping crime and deviance. Lesson 6. Sociological Explanations of Crime and Deviance. Interactionists. Interactionists argue that crime and deviance are not inherent in certain actions or behaviours, but rather are a product of societal reactions to them. They focus on how people in positions of power, such as the criminal justice system and the media, label certain behaviours as deviant or criminal. This perspective argues that criminal and deviant behaviour is often a result of the way that individuals are labelled and stigmatised by society. According to interactionists, individuals who are labelled as deviant or criminal are more likely to engage in deviant or criminal behaviour because of the way that society responds to them. They believe that once an individual is labelled as a criminal or deviant, they are more likely to be treated as such by society, which can lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy. They argue that these labels can have a significant impact on an individual's self-concept and their future interactions with others. The sociologist Becker's key ideas on the causes of crime centre around the concept of differential association. This theory posits that individuals learn criminal behaviour through their interactions and association with others, specifically those who engage in criminal activity. According to Becker, an individual's likelihood of committing a crime is determined by the balance of positive and negative associations with criminal behaviour. Becker was a notable interactionist theorist, and he focused on the issue of labelling and crime. Becker argues that people learn criminal behaviour in the same way they learn any other behaviour, through a process of socialisation. As individuals interact with others, they are exposed to the values, norms, and beliefs of those around them. If an individual is exposed to a high number of individuals who engage in criminal behaviour and have positive attitudes towards it, they are more likely to engage in criminal behaviour themselves. On the other hand, if an individual is exposed to a high number of individuals who disapprove of criminal behaviour, they are less likely to engage in it. Becker also highlights the importance of the context in which criminal behaviour is learned. He argues that the same behaviour may be considered criminal in one context, but not in another, and that the nature of the behaviour itself is not what makes it criminal, but rather the social and legal sanctions that are imposed upon it. Becker's ideas on the causes of crime also include the concept of labelling theory. He argues that individuals who are labelled as criminals by society and the criminal justice system are more likely to engage in criminal behaviour in the future. When someone is labelled as a criminal, the label becomes a person's master status. This means it overrides all other characteristics, and they begin to believe they are deviant. Society marginalises them. This is because the label criminal carries with it a set of negative stereotypes and biases, which can lead to discrimination and marginalisation. The person internalises the label, and it becomes part of their self-concept, known as a self-fulfilling prophecy. As a result, individuals who are labelled as criminals may have fewer opportunities for employment, education, and social mobility, which can increase their likelihood of committing crimes in the future. Lesson 7. Social control. Formal methods of social control refer to the official and legal means by which society regulates and enforces behaviour. These include laws, regulations, and institutions such as the police, courts, and prisons. Formal methods of social control are designed to prevent and punish criminal behaviour, and are based upon the principle of codified rules and laws that are enforced by the state. Examples of formal methods of social control include laws against theft, assault, and murder, and the enforcement of these laws by the police and courts. Informal methods of social control refer to the non-legal and non-official means by which society regulates and enforces behaviour. These include social norms, customs, and traditions, as well as social institutions such as the family and community. Informal methods of social control are based on the principle of unwritten rules and sanctions, and are enforced by social networks and peer groups. Examples of informal methods of social control include the expectation that people will be polite and courteous in public, the pressure to conform to certain dress codes, and the sanctions that can be imposed on individuals who violate these norms, such as social exclusion or ostracism. Unwritten rules and sanctions are an important aspect of both formal and informal methods of social control. Unwritten rules refer to the unwritten norms and expectations that govern behaviour within a society, and are often informal, cultural, and based on tradition. Sanctions refer to the rewards or punishments that are imposed on individuals who comply or violate these unwritten rules. For example, in some cultures, there are unwritten rules about how one should behave in public, such as not speaking loudly or using offensive language. Those who violate these rules may be subject to informal sanctions, such as social disapproval or exclusion from certain social activities. Different sociological perspectives on social control are the functionalist perspective. They argue that social control is essential for the functioning of society, as it ensures that individuals conform to social norms and expectations. According to functionalists, social control is not just about punishing deviance, but also about promoting conformity, which is necessary for the survival and functioning of society. The Marxist perspective. They argue that social control is used to justify the exploitation of the working class and maintain the power of the capitalist elite. Marxists also highlight the importance of understanding how social control operates in the context of class struggle and how it is used to maintain the power of the ruling class. The feminist perspective. They argue that social control often works to maintain traditional gender roles and power imbalances, and that it is often used to justify the marginalisation and oppression of women. Feminists also highlight the importance of understanding how social control operates at the intersection of gender, race, class, and other social factors. The interactionist perspective. They argue that social control is not just imposed from the top down, but also emerges from the everyday interactions between people. Interactionists view social control as a mutual process where individuals negotiate with one another to establish norms and expectations. They also highlight the importance of symbols and language in shaping social control, arguing that the meanings attached to certain behaviours and symbols can influence how people act. Lesson 8. Patterns in Criminal and Deviant Behaviour. Social class. Social class is one of the most significant factors affecting criminal and deviant behaviour. Research has shown that individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds are more likely to engage in criminal behaviour than those from higher socioeconomic backgrounds. This is often attributed to the fact that individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds may have fewer opportunities and resources, which can lead to feelings of alienation and frustration. Additionally, individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds may have less access to education, healthcare, and other social services, which can contribute to criminal behaviour. Trend in crime for social class. Historically, there has been a notable link between social class and types of crime. Those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds are more frequently associated with street crimes, such as theft, burglary, and assault. In contrast, individuals from higher socioeconomic backgrounds are more likely associated with white-collar crimes like fraud, tax evasion, and corporate crime. However, it's worth noting that while street crimes are more visibly policed and punished, white-collar crimes, though less visible, can have a more significant societal impact in terms of economic consequences. Let's look at some theories that explain some of these patterns. Number 1. Poor socialization. This theory suggests that individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds might not be adequately socialized into societal norms and values. This could be due to a range of factors, including unstable family backgrounds, lack of positive role models, or exposure to criminal behaviour from a young age. The implication of this. Insufficient socialization can lead to a higher propensity to engage in deviant or criminal behaviour, because these individuals may not internalise societal norms that discourage such actions. Secondly, strain theory by Merton. Robert Merton posited that society sets culturally approved goals and socially acceptable means to achieve these goals. However, not everyone has equal access to these means, like education or legitimate employment. The implication. Those who can't access these means might feel strain and turn to illegitimate means, i.e. crime, to achieve societal goals like financial success. This is particularly prevalent among the working class, who might face structural barriers to achieving success through legitimate avenues. Thirdly, status frustration by Cohen. Albert Cohen argued that working class youths are at a disadvantage in middle class institutions like schools, leading them to experience status frustration. The implication. Albert Cohen was a sociologist who studied delinquent subcultures in the 50s and 60s. He proposed that delinquent behaviour among lower class youths was a result of their rejection of the middle class values and goals that they perceived as being forced upon them by society. Cohen argued that these youths formed their own subcultures with their own values and goals, which were in opposition to those of mainstream society. He believed that the delinquent subculture was characterised by a sense of status frustration, where young people were unable to achieve the status and respect they desired in mainstream society. This led to a rejection of middle-class values and the adoption of a delinquent subculture, which was seen as a way to gain status and respect within their peer group. Cohen's theory also emphasised the role of subcultural groups in the development and maintenance of delinquent behaviour. In summary, the relationship between social class and crime can be understood from multiple sociological perspectives. While it's crucial to understand these theoretical viewpoints, it's also important to approach the topic with nuance and avoid overgeneralising or stigmatising particular social groups. Lesson 9. Patterns in criminal and deviant behaviour. Gender. Men are more likely to engage in criminal behaviour than women, and this is often attributed to traditional gender roles and expectations. Men are often socialised to be more aggressive and assertive, which can lead to criminal behaviour. The trend in crime for gender. Historically, crime rates and types of crime committed have shown variations between genders. Men have been, and continue to be, more likely to be involved in most types of crime compared to women. They especially dominate in violent crimes and more serious offences. However, women have typically been associated with less violent crimes like shoplifting. That said, recent times have witnessed a rise in the female crime rate. Let's look into some theories that explain these patterns. Firstly, gender role socialisation. From a young age, individuals are socialised into traditional gender roles. Boys might be taught to be assertive and independent, whereas girls might be socialised to be nurturing and passive. The implication. This can lead to different types of crimes being more prevalent in one gender. For instance, men might be more prone to aggressive behaviour due to the masculinisation of aggression, leading to higher rates of violent crime. Secondly, control of women. Francis Haddonson argued that women are less likely to commit crimes because they are more controlled than men in both private, the home, and public, society spheres. This control comes in various forms, from direct control by male family members to societal expectations and norms. The implication. The patriarchal nature of societies leads to women being under tighter surveillance and control, thereby reducing opportunities and inclinations to commit crime. However, it also means that women do commit crimes. It's seen as a significant deviation from the norm. Thirdly, labelling. This theory suggests that individuals are labelled based on societal norms and expectations. For women, these labels often relate to traditional gender roles. The implication. When women engage in criminal activity, it can be seen as more shocking or deviant than when men commit similar crimes. This could lead to differential treatment in the criminal justice system, with women possibly facing more severe repercussions due to the violation of gender expectations. Change in trends. While historically men have been more involved in criminal activities than women, there has been a noted increase in the female crime rate in more recent years. Poverty. There is a link between female criminality and poverty. Many women are driven to crime due to a lack of conventional opportunities to escape poverty. Another cause in this trend may be liberation. Some sociologists argue that as women gain more liberation and an equal footing in society, they also engage in behaviours historically dominated by men, including crime. This doesn't mean liberation is a direct cause, but rather that societal changes can influence crime patterns. Caroline Carlin is a criminologist who has written extensively on the relationship between women, crime, and poverty. She has argued that the criminal justice system and society at large often fail to understand the unique circumstances and experiences of women who are involved in criminal activity. Let's take a look at control theory. Control theory is a sociological framework that asks, why do people not commit crimes? It suggests that people conform to social norms because of bonds to family, schools, and other institutions. If these bonds are weak or broken, individuals may be more likely to engage in criminal activity. Carlin expanded on control theory by introducing the concepts of the class deal and the gender deal. Firstly, the class deal. This refers to the idea that society offers a kind of deal where if you follow the rules, work hard, get an education, etc., then you will get economic rewards in return, like a well-paying job and social respect. When this deal breaks down, or isn't accessible due to poverty or lack of opportunities, individuals may turn to crime as an alternative way to achieve success. The gender deal. Similar to the class deal, the gender deal refers to the unwritten social contract offered to women. This suggests that if women conform to societal expectations around femininity, family, and motherhood, they'll receive protection and certain privileges in return. When women find this deal unattainable or unrewarding, they may be more likely to commit crimes. So, how do these two deals interact? Carlin's ideas of the class and gender deals help to further explain the mechanics of control theory by diving deeper into the types of rewards or benefits people expect to receive when they conform to societal norms. Number 1, class. If you feel the class deal is not available to you because of lack of education or job opportunities, then the control mechanisms keeping you from committing a crime are weakened. Second, gender. If you're a woman and find that the gender deal doesn't offer you the protection or benefits you thought it would, for example, you might experience domestic violence or inequality or a lack of opportunities, then the bonds holding you back from criminal behaviour may also weaken. Both of these deals are ways society tries to control individual behaviour by offering rewards for conformity and punishment for deviance. When these rewards are not available or not perceived as worth the effort, people may turn to crime. Carlin also suggests that traditional criminological theories do not adequately explain women's involvement in crime, and that new theories that take into account the unique experiences and circumstances of women are needed. In summary, while gender plays a role in crime trends, it's essential to approach this topic with a comprehensive understanding and avoid oversimplified gender stereotypes. The sociological explanations provide depth and insight into the complexities of gender and crime. Lesson 10. Patterns in criminal and deviant behaviour. Ethnicity. Research has shown that individuals from certain ethnic backgrounds are more likely to engage in criminal behaviour than others. This is often attributed to factors such as discrimination, poverty, and lack of access to education and social services. Additionally, individuals from certain ethnic backgrounds may be more likely to be targeted by law enforcement and the criminal justice system, which can lead to higher rates of criminal behaviour. The trend in crime for ethnicity. In the UK, different ethnic groups have varied rates of involvement with the criminal justice system. Statistics often show higher arrest rates, stop and search incidents, and incarceration rates for certain ethnic groups, particularly black and minority ethnic individuals, compared to their white counterparts. However, it's crucial to approach these statistics with caution, recognising that they might reflect wider social issues, such as institutional racism or socioeconomic disparities, rather than innate criminal tendencies in any given ethnic group. Let's look at some theories that can explain these patterns. Firstly, racism. Institutional racism refers to the policies and practices within an institution that are discriminatory against certain racial or ethnic groups. So what's the implication of this? If institutions like the police, courts, or even schools have underlying biases, individuals from targeted ethnic backgrounds may face disparities in arrest rates, sentencing, or educational opportunities. This can perpetuate stereotypes and make individuals from these backgrounds more susceptible to criminal behaviour due to limited opportunities. Secondly, labelling or selective law enforcement. This theory suggests that authorities, for example the police, might target certain ethnic groups more than others based on racial or ethnic stereotypes. So looking at the implication for this heightened surveillance and targeting can lead to higher arrest and stop and search rates for these groups. Once labelled as potential criminals or troublemakers, individuals might face difficulties in areas such as employment or education, pushing them towards deviant behaviours. Thirdly, strain and status frustration. Rooted in the work of sociologists like Merton and Cohen, this theory posits that when individuals cannot achieve societal goals through legitimate means, so due to barriers like poverty or discrimination, they might experience strain or status frustration. The implication. Ethnic minorities, particularly in areas with high levels of poverty or discrimination, may feel disconnected from mainstream society's values. In the absence of legitimate avenues to success, they might resort to alternative means, which could include criminal behaviour, to achieve status or financial success. An additional note on poverty. Poverty intersects with ethnicity in many complex ways. In areas with limited resources and opportunities, criminal behaviour might be seen as one of the few viable means of achieving success or status. Ethnic minority groups that disproportionately experience poverty might, therefore, be more exposed to factors that encourage criminal behaviour. To conclude, it's essential to note that the relationship between ethnicity and crime is multifaceted, and no single theory can capture all its complexities. It's also crucial to avoid overgeneralising or stigmatising any particular ethnic group based on these theories. Instead, a more comprehensive approach that considers systemic issues, socio-economic factors, and individual circumstances will offer a more nuanced understanding of the topic. Lesson 11. Patterns in criminal and deviant behaviour. Age. Research has shown that individuals in their teenage and young adult years are more likely to engage in criminal behaviour than those in other age groups. This is often attributed to factors such as impulsivity, lack of experience, and peer pressure. Additionally, individuals in their teenage and young adult years may be more likely to be influenced by peer pressure and to engage in risk-taking behaviours that can lead to criminal behaviour. The trend in crime for age. Youth, especially those in their late teens and early 20s, tend to have a higher association with crime compared to other age groups. The crime rate typically peaks in late adolescence and then declines as individuals move into their 30s and beyond. This trend is observed for various offences, from minor misdemeanours to more serious crimes. It's worth noting that not all young people engage in criminal activity, and age is just one factor among many influencing criminal behaviour. Let's investigate some theories that explain these patterns. Number 1, subcultures. Subcultures refer to groups that have values, interests, and behaviours distinct from those of the mainstream culture. Young people might join subcultures as a way to establish an identity separate from adults. The implication: some youth subcultures might promote or tolerate deviant or criminal behaviour. Membership in such a subculture can expose young individuals to criminal activities, peer pressure, and alternative value systems that condone or celebrate such behaviours. Number 2, drift, boredom, or risk-taking. The concept of drift suggests that individuals, especially youth, move in and out of deviant behaviour based on circumstances. Adolescence is a period of life where individuals might be more prone to boredom, seeking excitement, and taking risks. The implication: the combination of limited responsibilities, a desire for excitement, and less foresight about consequences can lead some young people to engage in criminal or deviant acts. This is often transient, and many individuals grow out of such behaviours as they age and acquire more responsibilities. Number 3, labelling. Labelling theory revolves around the idea that if individuals are labelled in a particular way, they might start to see themselves through that label, leading them to act in ways consistent with it. The implication: young people, especially those from certain backgrounds or neighbourhoods, might be labelled as troublemakers or delinquents by authorities, teachers, or even their own communities. Over time, this can lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy, where these young individuals internalise these labels and engage in the very behaviour they're associated with. In conclusion, the relationship between age and crime is multifaceted, and while youth is associated with a higher propensity for criminal activity, it's essential to understand the underlying sociological factors at play. Factors like peer influence, societal labels, desire for excitement, and the allure of subcultural memberships can all influence a young person's propensity to engage in criminal activities. However, as individuals age and their circumstances, responsibilities, and perspectives change, their likelihood of participating in such behaviours often decreases. Lesson 12. Public debates over criminal and deviant behaviour. There are many debates about criminal and deviant behaviour. Let's look at some of the main topics. Firstly, violent crime. One of the most significant public debates over criminal and deviant behaviour is related to violent crime. There are concerns over the high rates of violent crime in certain areas and the impact this has on individuals, families, and communities. There is also debate over the most effective ways to address violent crime, with some arguing for stricter law enforcement and harsher penalties, while others advocate for more preventative measures such as addressing poverty and inequality. Some argue that the fear of violent crime is disproportionate. Sentencing. There is an ongoing discussion about the effectiveness of different sentencing options such as incarceration, community service, and rehabilitation programs. Some argue that harsher sentences are necessary to deter criminal behaviour, while others argue that rehabilitation and restorative justice are more effective in reducing recidivism. There are long-term negative impacts of prison and high recidivism rates in the UK. Next is the treatment of young offenders. There is an ongoing discussion about the most appropriate ways to address youth crime, with some advocating for harsher penalties and harsher conditions in juvenile detention centres, while others argue for more rehabilitation-focused approaches and investment in education being a better option. and the long-term negative impact of prison on young people, for example, mental health issues. The prison system. There are concerns over the high rates of recidivism, the conditions in prisons, and the impact of incarceration on individuals, families, and communities. There is also an ongoing discussion about the most effective ways to address these issues, such as alternatives to incarceration, prison reform, and rehabilitation programs. Media coverage of crime. Media coverage of crime is also a significant public debate. There is an ongoing discussion about the ways in which crime is represented in the media and the impact this has on public perceptions of crime and deviance. Some argue that media coverage of crime is sensationalized and can lead to fear and mistrust, while others argue that it is important for the public to be informed about crime and deviance. There are two debates about media and crime to consider. Firstly, does the media create crime in society? And secondly, are the media biased in their presentation of crime, e.g. moral panics? Lesson 13. Data on crime. The main sources of data on crime are official crime statistics and self-report studies. Official crime statistics are collected by law enforcement agencies and are considered the most reliable source of data on crime. They provide information on the number and types of crimes reported to and recorded by the police. These statistics can be used to identify patterns and trends in crime, such as changes in the overall crime rate over time or differences in crime rates between different geographic regions. However, official crime statistics have some limitations. They only include crimes that are reported to the police and may not accurately reflect the true extent of criminal activity, as not all crimes are reported. Additionally, official crime statistics can be affected by changes in policing practices, reporting procedures, and crime recording practices. Self-report studies are another source of data on crime. They involve asking individuals to report on their own criminal behaviour. These studies can provide a more accurate picture of the true extent of criminal activity, as they include both reported and unreported crimes. However, self-report studies also have limitations. Respondents may not be truthful about their criminal behaviour, and the samples used in these studies may not be representative of the general population. The dark figure of crime refers to the portion of criminal activity that is not reported to or recorded by official sources, such as the police. This can include crimes that go unreported, as well as crimes that are reported but not recorded by law enforcement agencies. There are several reasons why crime may not be reported or recorded. For example, victims may not feel comfortable reporting crimes to the police, or they may not believe that the police will be able to help them. Additionally, some crimes, such as minor theft or vandalism, may not be considered worth reporting. It is also important to note that crime reporting and recording practices can be affected by changes in legislation, policies, and technology. The dark figure of crime is difficult to estimate, but it is widely acknowledged that official crime statistics likely underestimate the true level of criminal activity. Some experts estimate that the dark figure of crime could be as much as 4 or 5 times higher than official crime statistics. It is worth noting that the term dark figure of crime refers to the fact that this crime is not recorded, not that it is illegal or morally wrong. Overall, crime figures in the UK have been on a downward trend in recent years. According to data from the Office for National Statistics, the ONS, the overall crime rate in England and Wales decreased by 7% in the year ending September 2020 compared to the previous year. This is the lowest level of crime recorded since the survey began in 1981. Violent crime, including homicide, has also decreased, with a 4% decrease in the year ending September 2020 compared to the previous year. Property crime, such as burglary and vehicle theft, have also decreased, with a 9% decrease in the year ending September 2020 compared to the previous year. However, there have been increases in certain types of crime. For example, fraud and cybercrime have increased with a 16% increase in the year ending September 2020 compared to the previous year. Additionally, the ONS has reported a significant increase in police-recorded hate crime in recent years, with a 9% increase in the year ending September 2020 compared to the previous year. It is important to note that crime figures can be affected by changes in recording practices and improvements in technology, which may impact the accuracy of the data. Functionalists would view the use of data on crime as necessary for the functioning of society. They would argue that crime data that is accurate helps to identify patterns and trends in criminal activity, which can then be used to develop and implement effective crime prevention and control strategies. Additionally, functionalists would likely argue that crime data can be used to evaluate the effectiveness of these strategies over time. Marxists would view the use of crime data through the lens of class inequality. They would argue that crime data is used to justify the expansion of policing and criminal justice systems, which primarily serve the interests of the ruling class, and reinforce the existing social and economic inequalities. They would also critique that crime data often underrepresents crimes committed by the ruling class, such as white-collar crime, which is often ignored by police. Additionally, Marxists would argue that crime data is used to further marginalise and criminalise working-class communities and individuals. Feminists would likely have a more critical perspective on the use of crime data. They might argue that crime data is often used to perpetuate stereotypes and biases against marginalised groups such as women and people of colour. Feminists would also critique the fact that crime data often underrepresents crimes committed against women, such as domestic violence and sexual assault. They would also likely argue that crime data is used to justify the expansion of policing and criminal justice systems, which disproportionately impact marginalised communities.
Ouch! This is why in some videos I explain scratches.